Hello and welcome back to the Millie Fox Show. I'm so glad you're here. This podcast is for the high achieving woman who never takes the pressure off herself and is in this belief that life should be more juicy and delicious for her than it's currently feeling right now. So we're here to bring the juice back into life. We are here to help you pop that pressure bubble for yourself and to be the woman that you actually want to be. Release that authentic badass babe, you know? Okay, so today's episode I'm really excited about because for a long time now, I have firmly believed that everything is a relationship. Okay, so when people say that they have money problems or they have health problems, or whatever else it is, I always go back to it's actually a relationship problem because we do not live in isolation in this existence. We were never meant to. We don't live in a vacuum. And therefore, everything comes back to your original relationship. And your original relationship is really the only one that you will have from the day you are born to the day you die. And that's the relationship you have with yourself. Okay. Your inner world is a relationship. It's actually multiple relationships because you have different parts of you, right? And you relate to each of these different parts of you. And through those relations, you make sense of the world. You orient yourself and you make sense of your experience in the world through the way that you relate to yourself. Because there's only one reference that we have, and it's us. Right? So I want to explore this because really your life, the quality of your life is determined by your relationships. I'm sure you've heard that before. And there are three main relationships that will determine the quality of your life. So the first relationship, obviously, is the one that I have already explained to you. It's the foundation. And I want to add on to this because you are not just this human version of you that you're currently experiencing. You're actually a lot more than that. So when I refer to the relationship that you have with yourself, I'm also referring to the relationship you have to the part of you that I call the source you. This is the part of you that is connected to creation, that is I believe that we are all a part of God, that we all have a part of the creative power that God has. And so therefore, our relationship to ourself inherently is our relationship with God as well. Obviously, there's that relationship you have to this human version of you, and then there is the relationship you have to something greater than you, the universe, the creator, source, God in all of its magnitude. So this is really, really important. And I've talked about this, I've said this for years, that everything in your life is run by two undercurrents, and that is the relationship you have to yourself and the relationship you have to something greater than you, to God. I use the word God now. I didn't used to. We all come around to the language that makes sense for us because words have a lot of different meanings for people. They carry a lot of baggage, So what is this? What is involved in the relationship you have to yourself? Well, if you think about any relationship, you think about the safety in it. You think about the trust in it. You think about the respect in it. You even also think about like power imbalances. And when we're thinking about power with our self relationship, we want to think about self leadership. We think about our identity. We think about our nervous system. And when I said safety, what I really mean is not just physical safety, but emotional safety, spiritual safety, psychological safety, all of these different pieces. And much of what we experience in the world comes back to our inner self-talk, the state that we have, the way that we interpret what happens, and the stories that we tell about why it happened and the meaning that we assign to things, right? And a lot of that is self-referenced. So I'll give kind of an example, right? I'm dealing with some interpersonal issues in my life right now with someone from my past. And I keep assuming generously, actually, it's called generous assumptions, which are often a really great thing to do in relationships, is to assume generously the intentions of the other person. And I have been generously assuming that this person will act in certain ways that if I were in that scenario, I would act in those ways, right? That would be my, natural way of responding or handling it. And when that person does not handle the situation in those ways, it always shocks me, right? Because I'm telling a story about what someone should do. And so then when we say to ourselves, they should be doing this, we get into this whole triggered situation of, maybe viewing it through the lens of they're doing it on purpose to attack me, or they don't respect me because clearly that we go through this entire process of assigning meaning and making up backstories and drawing conclusions, right? And a lot of that comes from our experience and our relationship with ourselves. So if we believe that we are unworthy, or if we have an identity that says, I'm the type of person who always has to go it alone, or I'm the type of person who always gets the short end of the stick, or people always give me a hard time, you see? So if you have these internal beliefs going on, and this is part of your self-relationship, right? You're going to have filters that you view everything that happens to you through, right? So you're going to interpret situations and interactions with other people through the lens of I'm not worthy. And our brain is a pattern seeking machine. And what it will do will be to purposely, hypervigilantly scan the environment to gather evidence that that belief is true. Okay? Do you understand? So if you don't trust yourself, if you are constantly looking outside yourself for the answers, if you are constantly abandoning yourself, you will tolerate relationships that require you to keep abandoning yourself, right? Because that's your standard. That's your internal standard. That's your thermostat with your relationship for yourself. And therefore, it's the same thermostat that you will use for your external relationships, right? And if you internally, your nervous system doesn't feel safe, you will struggle to receive love, to allow joy into your life, to actually rest, to receive abundance, all of the above. Okay. So just to sum that up again, the relationship that you have with yourself becomes the blueprint for every other relationship that you will create, right? Okay. So that's the first of the three. The second relationship is the relationship you have with others. Okay. So this is not just romantic relationships, it's all types. And I'm going to stop and tell a quick story here because I had this really big aha moment probably about 5 years ago at this point. And I remember standing in my kitchen for whatever reason. This part stands out. And I was thinking to myself, hey, if your quality of life, I must have been reading something at the time, if your quality of life is determined by the quality of your relationships, I'm not doing too great. And I kind of took a quick survey of, the friends I had in my life at the time, the level of closeness that I felt with those people, how my marriage was going, how my relationships with my family were doing. And I was not happy with the picture. I was like, ooh, I actually had said to myself, what would my funeral look like? That was the kind of thought process that led me to this. I asked myself, what would my funeral look like? And the picture that came to mind made me feel really sad. I felt like, geez, would people even come? What am I impacting? Am I important in these people's lives? And like, yes, of course, I am important, but like, am I that kind of person that there will be hordes of people crying at my funeral for the loss, right? And this was not a superficial thought process that I was going through, like, a famous person or whatever, but I meant like on a true heart to heart level, would I be that person? And I spent so many years not wanting to be a people pleaser, right? I learned a lot about codependency and not wanting to be a people pleaser. So, you know, I thought to myself, well, a lot of people would have a funeral like that because there are a lot of women out there that are martyrs and have given all of themselves and had nothing left for themselves at the end of the day. So, their funerals would be jam packed, but I don't want to be that woman either. So, how can I be the woman that both honors herself and also deeply impacts other people? And I thought, well, obviously, I'm going to have to work on my relationship with myself. I'm going to have to stop treating myself like a DIY fix it project and look at what truly matters in life. And, well, relationships, right? Like, I think one of the top things people say on their deathbeds is they wish they spent more time with the people that they loved, right? And so if we get into relationships to others from there, we need to look at things like boundaries, like attachment style and attachment wounds. Like, do you have the ability for secure attachment? And, are you anxiously attached? Are you avoidant? What does that look like? Do you know how to communicate? Like, I don't mean do you just know how to like talk or fire hose somebody or, you know, get into screaming matches and try to force your point down other people's throats. Do you know how to have healthy exchange with somebody where you are both able to feel heard and seen and come out with a deeper understanding and a deeper level of connection and intimacy? Because I know in the past, I just wanted to be right. And I didn't want to stop at anything until I could prove that I was right. You can either be right or you can be happy. I don't know if that's true, but you can definitely be respectful and have two ears and one mouth for a reason. There's conflict resolution, like what is the style you have there? That's part of what I was just going over. Receiving in relationships, I'm still working on this one. I still feel really uncomfortable in some scenarios around receiving. I get weird. Yesterday I was having a conversation with my fiance and I literally had to start taking Kleenexes out of the Kleenex box and dabbing my underarms. And he was like, is this conversation making you so uncomfortable that you're sweating? It's like, yep, that's exactly what's happening. He's like, I don't think I've ever seen you sweat from a conversation that we've had. And we've been together for nearly 3 years. That was funny. And then emotional responsibility is a huge one in your relationship with others. And, the fact of the matter is, and some people will try to fight you on this, but I will die on this hill, that the quality of your relationships with other people will never, ever exceed the quality of the relationship that you have with yourself. And so first you have to start there, and then you can start to get to know yourself, right? Through that process of, where are my wounds? What are the limiting beliefs that I have that I bring into this relationship that cause me to view certain actions through filters and tell certain stories that may escalate conflict rather than be an opportunity for deeper connection and deeper intimacy? Because I got to tell you, what I have now in the relationship that I have now is night and day from what I had in my previous relationship. In my previous relationship, we would just scream at each other to try to be heard, you know, and we would repeat the same things over and over and over. And both of us were going, but you don't understand me, but you don't understand me. I'm sure that's familiar for many of you guys. And now I have, okay, I hear you. I understand where you're coming from. But that's not just because it's a different person. It's because it's a different way of operating. And I'm able to operate in a new way because I've changed the relationship that I have to myself. On top of that, I have so many more wonderful female friendships and wonderful relationships with my family whom I was previously estranged with because of this as well, because of the change that I've had in my relationship to myself. And that was part of it. So when I had this big realization, it was right after/during COVID, right? So I'm sure a lot of people were feeling isolated and disconnected at that time. So it definitely amplified it for me. But I thought to myself, I don't have any real life, in-person friends. I have friends I see once in a while, but I want people in my life, regularly, that I see in person regularly. So that became a big focus and goal for me, was in-person female friendships. And I got to tell you, I feel so blessed. I'm going to cry. No, no, no. um, I went wedding dress shopping the other day, and when I got married the first time, I kind of downplayed all of these activities. I didn't have a wedding party. I didn't have, a bachelorette party. I didn't bring anybody wedding dress shopping with me. And I had that thought flash in my mind, I don't really have that group of girls. Because I don't actually have all girls that are part of the same friend group. But I went to start inviting people to come wedding dress shopping with me because I was like, hey, why not? Why not? I deserve that moment. And I think that, the women in my life would feel special. And once I started to really think and scan, I ended up having 8 women come wedding dress shopping with me. And it was such a beautiful experience. And I have such a special relationship with each of these women. The limit was actually 7 for the appointment, and they didn't say anything, but and then we went out for lunch after. And I have put in so much work into my relationship with myself, and I'm reaping the benefits tenfold in my relationships with others now because of it, And so I want to encourage you to do the same, to really take a inventory of your relationships with other people and then use it as a reflection point to, well, what is it about my relationship with me that is perpetuating this, right? And I talked about this in the last week's podcast episode of, should I leave my marriage? In the context of that, like your main relationship. And really, sometimes the first question is, how have I been relating to myself inside this marriage? Like, who do I believe I have to be? Or who am I telling myself I have to be inside of this marriage? And is that true? Do I? Is that in alignment? If I am, if I do feel like I need to be these ways to maintain peace in the relationship, is that actually true? Or if it is true, is that something that feels healthy for me? And where do I go from here with my self-respect and authenticity and all of those different pieces, right? And then the third relationship, I mean, we could talk so much more about relationships, and I will, and I'm going to start having some guests onto the podcast here and there, because I have a lineup of people that I just really want to speak to, and have conversations with for you guys. So keep your eye out for that. Some really special guests. So the third relationship is your relationship with life, with the world. Okay. So this is where the manifestation aspect comes in, right? It's, what do you believe about the world? What do you believe about life? Do you believe that life is hard, that life is happening to you? Do you believe, the world is against you or out to get you? Do you believe that the world is responding to you, that it's a mirror of you? Your beliefs about the world and the universe and your understanding of universal laws like the law of attraction, the law of vibration, the quantum physics stuff that I get into, all of it comes back to you, right? That's why I always say that manifestation is a reflection of your relationship with yourself. So we have to look at things like self-trust. The more you trust yourself, the easier it is to trust the universe. Faith, again, receiving. What is your understanding of conscious creation? What about surrender and non-attachment? Those things come down to worthiness. Big, big time. When you feel super duper attached to an outcome, it often comes back to a core belief of unworthiness. And understanding the playfulness and relationship that you have with energy, with the world, with God even, right? You can insert relationship to God also here, as well as in the first relationship that you have to yourself, because it's all an interplay. And this piece is really the big picture. It's, how does your relationship with yourself cause your relationships with others to impact your life? And how does your relationship with yourself cause you to interact with the world and with the universe to attract more aligned relationships to yourself? Because like everything's relationships, like, right? They say it's not what you know, it's who you know. And that plays into your success, right? And there's all of these complaints about, it's not a meritocracy anymore, right? It's like a club or this. I think it's always been that way. We always want to help out the people that we know. We always do. We always will. And so, like, the quality of people even, and I don't mean that on a like a class or societal level. I mean, the level of integrity of the people in your life, the level of authenticity, the level of courage, the character of the people that you attract is highly based on your beliefs about the world, and that's highly based on your beliefs about yourself, right? So I can't harp on this really any more than I already have, but you know, manifestation, the way that it's taught in the mainstream almost feels like manipulation of energy and life, but it's really this beautiful interplay of relationships with all starting with you and learning to relate to yourself and then through yourself to life differently, right? We shift our filters. So there's this incredible visualization, illustration that I show to my clients all the time. And basically it's a head, if you can imagine, like you, and all of these bits of information coming towards you as a head. And we receive so many trillions, bajillions of bits of information, sensory information, that we can't possibly process them all, right? So we have to, our brain has to delete, distort, and generalize that information. This is why eyewitness testimony will be so varied between two different people, because we have filters, which I've referred to multiple times already. We have filters through which we delete, distort, and generalize, right? And they're based on our past experiences. They're based on the meaning that we've made from those past experiences. And again, largely the relationship that we have with ourselves. So if you want to have different experiences, interpretations of the world, like seeing more opportunity, or having more motivation because interpret the chances of your success differently than somebody else, you're going to need to change those filters. And all of those filters exist inside of you as parts of your self-relationship. So that is it. Those are the 3 big relationships to consider. And even within your relationship to yourself, I do teach more on, how that works inside of my coaching programs. Like I've got the 3 levels of identity framework, which I've already kind of hinted at. You've got your human, you've got your source, and then there's vortex, which is conversation for another day. But you've got your relationship to self, your relationship to others, and your relationship to life and the universe. And most people try to change their circumstances. Most people try to change things externally. They'll try to change habits. They'll try to work harder. But it's going to just bounce back to the set point or the status quo if you don't change the relationships that are at the core of all of it. And when you do that, your quality and experience of life will begin to change as well. It's just natural and it's inevitable. So instead of asking yourself, how do I fix this marriage? Or how do I manifest more money? Or how do I experience more joy and be happier? It's how am I relating to myself? How am I relating to others because of how I relate to myself? And how am I relating to life itself? What are my big beliefs there? Because if you can take a look at and examine those 3 questions, it will tell you and give you a lot clearer answer of what needs to happen than whatever problem you think you need to solve right now, right? So that's it. That is it. Your life is always reflecting your relationships. And one of the biggest areas I know makes the biggest impact on my clients' lives time and time again. They come back to me year after year telling me that the biggest thing that changed their life was self-trust and self-compassion. Okay? If you're in my world, I mean, even like at a free level right now, you're going to hear me talk like a lot about these two topics. So start there. And if you are in a scenario where you are trying to figure out if you should leave your marriage and you want to improve your relationship with yourself and improve your relationship skills, because even if you leave your marriage, you're likely to attract something very similar if you don't change your own internal situation and relationship skills, right? Which is what I was able to do. It's funny because I was like, am I ready? Am I ready? My friends are like, yo, you've been doing this work for 5 years. And I'm not perfect. God, I have a lot of work to go, but I know the skills that are required in and out. I've been obsessed with relationships since I was a teenager because I was trying to figure out my relationship with my mom. Okay. So I am putting together a beta program for women who are deciding whether to stay or go in their relationships and want to improve their relationship skills. It's going to be running in September, and I am taking on a small group of women. So DM me, ask me about the beta on Instagram, and we can talk about it if you're a fit. Okay? I love you so much. Tune in every Friday. Share this podcast if you found it helpful. Tag me. I really would love to get this podcast out to more people. I'm not doing any ads. I'm not doing a ton of promotion for it. I'm really just trying to pour value in here and hoping that it is valuable enough that people want to share with others. Word of mouth. Okay. I love you so much. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your support. And I'll be here again next Friday. Okay? Bye for now.